Good morning. I hope you guys are having a good day. Welcome back to Level Grinding. Today is Tuesday. Today's a gloomy day, but my Monday for yesterday is over. And I'm hoping that today goes a bit better. So right now I'm out on my morning walk. Today I was able to get up relatively on time and to get going with my morning routine, and that feels great. And so I'm hoping that today is off to a better start than yesterday. So I think one of the things that made yesterday pretty lousy was the fact that not only did I have a whole bunch of stuff that went wrong, but I also had a low spot in my bipolar hit as well. And so that's just the perfect storm for having a really bad day. One of the things about bipolar is that you go from feeling really great about the world, everything feels fantastic, you feel like you're kind of invincible, everything's wonderful, to feeling absolutely, completely debilitating depressed. And I mentioned yesterday about being a high-functioning depressed, which means that I'm depressed, but I still feel like I gotta get stuff done. Hold on a second, bunch of traffic. Oh, wait a sec. Ah! Yay! Okay. So when you are a high-functioning depressed, it means that you still get stuff done, but you still feel really crappy. And when you have a whole bunch of things that are going wrong at the same time, it kind of makes you feel like it's you that's the problem. Now, I am on medication to try and limit how often this happens, but every once in a while it still does happen, and I think that was part of what made yesterday terrible. Working and living with bipolar is interesting because you get caught off guard by mood swings. When I have the glorious moments, they're fantastic, and I noticed last week that I was having one of them, and it's getting to the point now where I recognize that that's happening, and it means that I'm probably going to have a depressed moment shortly thereafter. So it was kind of funny to be going, I feel amazing! Crap, that means I'm going to feel lousy later. So I think that was my lousy later. I'm hoping it is. I still don't feel entirely normal, but today is a gray day. Today, the leaves have popped. We'll just let that be. It's a good. Oh, bag in the tree. I hate single-use plastics, but look at this, guys. Green leaves. Oh, Denver, it's so nice to see you green again. So here's some more fun stuff about bipolar. Bipolar has a couple of different flavors. The traditional one is a mental health cycle that goes from an extreme high, a euphoria that lasts for a little while, maybe a month or two, and then you start to cycle back down into that depression, and it happens really slowly. Some people with this kind of depression or this kind of form of bipolar only cycle like once or twice a year, maybe even longer. And so that's typically what a lot of people think of with bipolar. The other thing that people think of often with bipolar, and the way that it used to be classically identified, was that you would have the depression, but the way that the euphoria would exhibit itself was that you would often be like out partying and spending money that you didn't have, and just like driving really fast cars, and just like being completely and totally out there, so much so that your self-control was like completely gone. And so that used to be like the qualifier for diagnosing for bipolar. You had to have that really, really extreme activity in order to be qualified. But in the last few years, in the last couple of years, decade, I think, things have started to change. And so there's now a recognition of a second type of bipolar. The first one that I just talked about being called bipolar 1. Bipolar 2 is a lesser version of that. Rather than having that extreme euphoria with no self-control, it's called a hypomania, where everything is amazing, you have extreme productivity, you're running around doing a whole bunch of things, you probably take on too much stuff to do, but you feel like you can do it. And then when that depression hits, everything just falls apart, and it's extremely debilitating. And so with both of these, there is also another variety that's called rapid cycle, and it means that instead of cycling like over the course of months or years, instead you're cycling much faster. And so for me, before I was diagnosed with type 2 bipolar, so I'm not like losing all complete self-control, but I definitely have all the productivity. And I was also diagnosed as being rapid cycle, meaning that my trip over from being in a hypomania to being depressed, being in a hypomania to being depressed was happening really quickly. And it was happening about every 6 to 8 weeks, which is terrible. And with that comes the problem. Like, this was kind of one of the symptoms, is that when I am depressed, I push stuff out. Like, I don't work on it. I feel miserable. I don't want to do anything. And it's just barely enough to try and get some lunch. And so when I'm depressed now, like, the goal of my meds is to stop this from happening, and instead just to try and keep things even keel. But occasionally my mental health just gets whacked up because of stress, because of too much going on, because I'm not taking care of myself and watching for all the signs. It's the reason why I have all those little things in my goal 1 for be healthy. A lot of that is relating to my mental health. And so if I'm not taking the time for that, I'm going to go, bananas. And so the depression part kicked in yesterday, and then I did not want to do anything. I managed to make myself do some things for work, do some important stuff that needed to get done, but nothing that if I touched it was going to blow up in my face, because a lot of stuff blew up in my face yesterday. And so with that means that I also didn't get Friday's video online like I was supposed to. I didn't get it done over the weekend like I was supposed to, but my plan had been to work on it on Monday and just get it out there. And this is bringing me up to another thing. I'm having a really hard time getting Friday's videos online for Saturday. And this is because in the evenings, Robo and I go grocery shopping. So I'm out usually until about 9 o'clock at night. And when I get home, I'm exhausted because I've been grocery shopping. And in the mornings on Saturday, I'm often dashing out really early to go roller skating. So I'm not having the time in my day like I would want to be able to put that video together. Now, it doesn't really take that long. Most of my edits take me less than 20 minutes, which is great. They're not wicked complicated because this is just a vlog and we're just having a conversation, guys. But it does mean that I'm having a hard time fitting that into my weekend to be able to finish it and get it out for you guys. So I want to apologize about that. And I also want to let you know that I'm trying to figure out a solution, because I want something that's more sustainable, and I want to make sure that you guys are getting the show as you guys like it and as you guys enjoy it. And so with that, I'm also starting to think about, maybe do I need to retool a little bit of how I'm doing the show. I love doing the daily thing. I think it's fantastic. I love talking to you guys. I love all of your feedback. I love all the encouragement. I think is awesome. But I am also having a hard time keeping up with the daily load to do this. It is challenging to do it. And honestly, everybody who does a daily vlog struggles with the same thing, right? Like, this is just a part of the beeswax that goes with doing this kind of thing. But I'm trying to figure that out, in part because I also want to talk about a few other things on my channel. And they're things that don't normally come up in an everyday conversation. I could probably make that happen, but again, I'm starting to figure this out. And I want to talk more about entrepreneurship. I want to talk more about why it's important. I want to talk more about how my faith impacts my entrepreneurship and about how that affects my philosophy of doing business, and where are some of the things that I'm coming from when it comes to building a business. Like, I want to start talking more about that, but I don't know how to bring that into the everyday yet, other than just maybe, making a list and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to talk about every single day of the week, which could work. Could totally work. So yeah, stuff, guys. So if you have any feedback or any on this, like, leave me some comments below about your thoughts on the channel. Leave me some comments about how you think, just what you guys would like to see. I know you guys would love to see more about my day, but I don't know how to do that best and what would help you. So let me know what that is. And also, if you have ever struggled with any kind of mental health issue, depression, bipolar, anxiety, schizophrenia, whatever they are, let me know. It'd be nice to know who you all are, and just to know, like, hey, this is something I deal with too. Because I believe that the more that we talk about our mental health, the more that everybody's going to realize, like, hey, this is a really serious issue and we can't ignore it. And sometimes it's just nice to know who else in your circle has the same kind of thing that you do. So I'm going to get to lunch, and then I'm going to get into my day. My big task for today is storyboarding the script for Denver Rescue Mission, so I know what photography I need to go get, because ideally I should be doing that by the end of this week, and it's Tuesday, and I'm not really freaking out about it, but I do need to get it done, because that's the next thing that I need in order to start putting all of this stuff together once my narration comes back from my sound engineer, which should be happening pretty soon. So yeah, I got work to do, but first I need to feed the brain cells. I am busy working on my storyboarding process, which is fantastic. It's really not really that complicated. I'm more just going through and identifying what is the kind of background shots first. Like, what do I need this to actually look like what are some of the things that I'm going to see on screen. And I'm going through every single page that is in this script, and I marked out what the page, what the paragraph numbers are. This is for my own reference so that I can then sketch out in more detail things that need to be done that way. The only thing is, oh my gosh, this thing, look at this thing. Look at how fat this thing is. You see this? You see this thing? Oh my gosh, this project's huge. Yeah, look, where is this? We're not there yet. Yeah, you see how high these numbers are getting? Oh my gosh, come on. Where are you? Okay, not there. This is all the same thing, so there we go. 98 paragraphs. And I'm not counting like all these individual bullet points because this is all going to be the exact same balance. Now this is not a typical storyboarding process. Usually in a storyboarding process you have little boxes that represent the individual frames of a movie or a video, and you pencil into that what you want things to look like. And they can be just simple stickmen figures so that you know where to place your camera, to outright like full on beautiful images that really convey the story and the emotion of what's going on there. And those ones are used for a process that's called pre-visualization or pre-viz. So if you see that ever in the movie credits, please tell me you watch all the movie credits. That's what those people are doing. They are giving the director and the producers and everybody involved in the team a really detailed look of what is this supposed to be and conceptualizing it before they start shooting. And this is really critical in things where you're working with a lot of computer animation, where you're doing a lot of the blue screen stuff that they do these days, where you are putting together like really complex shots. You need to have all this stuff planned out. And so I'm not doing anything remotely related to previs. I'm not even really doing anything remotely to storyboarding just at this point. I am busy creating just a visual in my head. What does each part of this need to look like? What is that going to be? And then from there, I'm going to take some of this stuff and actually do that little sequence of squares so that I know what I have to shoot, why I have to shoot it, and when. And a lot of this, for the bulk of this training, doesn't need to be super, super complicated. But I'm about to hit a section that's going to talk about body language. It's going to talk about posture. It's going to talk about proximity to people. And I really want to use good, clear, illustrative photos for that. And that's really where the storyboarding process is going to play a big role, because this is what's going to dictate the photographs that I get over the end of this week, I hope, and definitely into next week. Radar's trying to tell me that he wants to go out, but this is the next step of the storyboarding process. Normally in a storyboard, like, you're going to have more squares than this, and the point is to sketch in the squares what you want something to look like. Often this is done in a side-by-side format, a two-column format, so one side has the script, the other side has notes about visuals and any of this kind of stuff. I'm doing this a little bit differently because this is easier for my process, but what I'm doing is basically sketching into each of these boxes what I'm going to do. I'm going to make lists of which paragraphs use them. This will help me figure out like how much of this stuff do I need, and I've also got notes about what this is actually going to be in the final product. So even though this might be an exterior of the Denver Rescue Mission building, and obviously this is extremely terrible, if you've ever seen it, this does not look like it, but this is going to be all blurred out, but I don't want it to draw it blurry, because then otherwise I cannot plan the shot that I want. So this is the process that I'm doing next, and then I'm going to back it up to all of the paragraphs. It is nearing the end of my day. Robo should be home any minute. He said he was going to be here around 5, and it's 4:45. He had a meeting with his boss, and they never, ever, ever, ever end on time when he thinks they will, so I'm not really surprised. But I have made really good progress on my storyboards for Denver Rescue Mission. I have a few more boxes that I want to sketch out at some point, either today or tomorrow, and then I need to start figuring out the actual shooting schedule. It looks like there's not going to be a whole lot that I have to really scramble for, and for that I'm really, really thankful. One of the original ideas for this script that was put forth by the team as they were brainstorming and trying to figure out like what the script should be was to actually like have little cutscenes about some of the stuff that they were talking about. And that idea was nixed at the top, and I'm so glad it was, because that would be a real nightmare to try and coordinate and shoot on top of like all the time that this is going to take to put together. So that makes me feel better, because it's making my storyboarding process easier, because there's just less that I have to do. But I also made progress on my spreadsheet for creative mornings. I'm currently transforming it into a Trello board, because I feel like that's going to be a little bit easier for everybody to do. So that's what I'm going to do with that. And I still have some more ideas of like how to coordinate this group and how to make it easier for everybody, but we'll figure that out as we go along. And so that's something that's going to be happening. I'm really excited to get that underway, mostly because the next event is on the 25th of May and it's May 1 and I have 25 days to book somebody. So yeah, stuff to hustle toward. In terms of where I'm at with other things, I still need to listen to my audiobook. I'm so sorry, Sandra, that I've not done that yet. And then, what else is going on? So one of the things that I like to do when I'm super stressed out is to make a list of all the things that are stressing me out. And then, you know, I can go back a couple of weeks later or a week later and see, like, what have I been able to knock off the list? And that's a really, really liberating process to do because I'm able to go back and see, oh yeah, like, I actually got this done. Okay, I'm back. So my phone was getting full and it was giving me a warning. And so anyway, back. What was I talking about? I was talking about lists and about making lists and about how sometimes just cataloging all the things that are making you feel spazzed out and crazy can be helpful because afterwards you can actually go back to them and feel like you've made progress because you can see all the stuff that you've been able to check off. And I have really experienced that in the last, oh good grief, probably 24 to 48 hours because I've been able to knock off my sketchbook, been able to knock off stuff for creative mornings, I've been able to knock off like just a bunch of details that have just been hanging over my head, and so I'm really excited that they're gone. But now I need to take the dog out. He is ringing his bell incessantly. Robo should be home. I need to go start some supper. So this is going to be the end of today's episode. Really, guys, I thank you so much for hanging out. If you made it through yesterday's episode 156, you guys, thank you. You guys are amazing. Yeah, so bipolar is fun. Bipolar is not fun. You take what you can. You have a better day when you can, and you appreciate the things that are in the day as you get them, even if they're all bad things. So I hope that you liked today's episode. Yeah. I'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.